Hey guys, Coach Becca here. Welcome to my post-run routine. If you're just finishing a run, a walk, a long hike, or another exercise or endurance activity, I hope you'll join me for a great rejuvenation session to get your muscles recovered and strong and injury-free and ready for tomorrow. As always, I'm going to do the entire workout with you. If you tuned into my pre-run routine, you'll use the same equipment for the post-run routine. And of course, I have the same great cheerleaders as before my two pups. So you'll need an ankle, circle band, easy, medium, or hard, and a foam roller. Let's get those muscles ready to go and rejuvenate. Here we go. Okay, so band goes around the knees. We're gonna do some standing hip mobility. Make sure your feet are just around your shoulders or just outside your shoulders, okay? Keep your foot flat and allow your knee to cave towards your midline. You're gonna actively push into the band by externally rotating at the hip. Think about keeping your feet flat as your pressure goes from your big toe to your pinky toe. And this should feel good just in the hip joint, just to kind of, I like to call it, oiling up the squeaky hinges a little bit, especially after you've used them frequently. This is a great way to kind of build a little strength, build a little resilience, and that's what this session is all about. All right, switch sides now. Again, just gently let that knee cave towards your center line and then push against the band outward. Don't rush it and don't expect a big movement. A lot of times people that are just starting this, that don't maybe have a lot of mobility or a lot of awareness, it feels awkward because it is a fairly small movement. But the more mobile and the more control you get in your hips, the more you'll be able to see this movement come to fruition. So good job on the standing hip mobility. Okay, keep the band where it's at, right there at the knees, cross the arms, and let's just do a little trunk squat. For some reason, squats always make me feel a little bit more rejuvenated after a run. You might feel the opposite. You might feel like your hips are already tight and you want to make this a glute bridge. That's a totally fine alternate for a squat here. We're not looking for a ton of depth. We're using the band here to wake up the glutes, the weak glutes, the glute medius, and just trying to add a little strength back into those legs after a long workout. So just building some resilience there once again on some fatigued quads. So just 12 trunk squats there is what we did. All right, we're gonna do a little hip hinge progression. So if you're especially shaky, say your run was really long or challenging, you might wanna just keep your hand there on that foam roller to help you the whole time. But maybe say, I'm okay, I can try a couple reaches without holding on to something. Give this version a try. Or perhaps you're advanced and say, you know what, I feel really good today. I'm gonna add in an overhead reach with my single leg reach. So there's 3 variations for you. If you wanna just take that progression and do all 3, that's great. This one's really great for ankle, knee, and hip stability, as well as hip mobility. It's also a run-specific movement. Okay, let's switch sides here again. If you need to hold onto a target, I'm gonna do kind of 3 at a time here. An assisted hip hinge, a regular hip hinge, and then an overhead reach hinge. And there's my little guy Brownlee supervising for me. Here's that single leg reach without assistance, and here's that overhead reach within the single leg reach. It almost feels like a dynamic stretch to me after, going for a long run. In particular, I like to let my muscles know they're not quite done yet. There's always a little bit more in the tank for them. I hope that'll help me. I'm a triathlete, and I hope that gives me extra resilience at the end of my races. All right, up next, we're gonna do a combination of a side plank and a clam. Sorry about my little guy kind of blocking the form there. So starting off in just a kneeling side plank with my knees in line with my hips and shoulders, I'm gonna keep my feet together and rotate at the hip. So the band's right there around my knees, and I'm just kind of opening and closing at the knee. My feet are together, and I'm gonna do 12 of these in side plank just to fire my core. And then I'm gonna do 12 with my hip on the floor to really focus more on my hips. So it's kind of a 2-for-1. If you wanna take the side plank out and do them all here, in this position where you can really focus on a lot of movement through the hip, that's up to you. So just a few more clams here with your hip on the ground so you can focus on rotation. See how much more my hip can rotate when I'm not also doing a side plank. There's just 2 varieties for you. Switch sides, and I'm gonna start again with 12 clams in a side plank. to fire up my core, wake up my core muscles after a long run, strengthen them a little bit. That's what's, hard to communicate. You want to do the activation before your workout, the actual workout, and then all the dotting of the T's and I's after. It's quite a commitment, but if you just break it up into 10 minutes and 15 minutes, you'll get through it, okay? And here's the clams with my hip on the ground. I'm so sorry. My little guys they know I'm taking them for a hike after this. So they're just trying to tell me that it's their turn soon. So there we go. We're going to do 12 total clams. Don't worry, I'll finish that set for you. 12 total clams with the hip on the ground. So do I do this before and after every run? No, but I do feel much more equipped for my run if I activate, and I feel much better the following day if I do this stuff after. So in a perfect world, we always spend 10 minutes before and after, but that's in a perfect world. All right, band around the toes, and we're gonna do a banded dead bug. Guys, these are tough, so don't use a band if you're smoked from your workouts, okay? I'm just doing same side dead bugs where I push my right leg and right arm out, and then I'll switch to my left side. The band's right there on my pinky toes. Switch sides here. Great one for core work, core stability, core coordination. We did this pre-run with the foam roller. We're doing it post-run with the band. Okay, and you might feel that in all the nooks and crannies that you exercised when you were running. So take the band out if you're feeling smoked. Add the band in if you want to try this variation. Again, resilience is the name of the game on this session, guys. We just want to build resilient muscles. My favorite, seated hip rotations. So you're just going to sit with your knees kind of 90 degrees, split apart from one another. Pause if you need to, just to get the position right. And then all you do is rotate side to side, pushing your ankles into the ground, or heels. What we want to do is limit any heel movement, okay? So kind of just try to keep those rooted, keep your butt rooted, and let the hips get tons of love here. This is all just hip mobility. Oh, and then this one's just so great. We're gonna do a 15-second stretch for the low back and hips here. You're just gonna bend over your front leg, and then we'll switch. If you can't reach all the way to the ground, grab a pillow, or even just place your hands on a chair. The bench that's nearby me, I could put my hands there if I can't quite reach to the floor. And let's switch sides here. We want about 15 to 30 seconds. If you wanna hold it longer, just hit pause and give your body a little bit of love here. Take some deep breaths. Again, if you've done the pre-activation and a cardio workout and then this, you're shaping up to have a pretty darn good day. So, all right, I'm going to demonstrate some foam rolling here. So if you're new to foam rolling, I'll do my best to help show you how to get set up. So place the foam roller just underneath your ankles and treat it like a rolling pin. And wherever it feels tight or sore, that's actually where you want to focus. So it's not actually a very comfortable thing to do, foam rolling. And mine has a lot of bumps on it, so it's kind of even more painful. But I showed two legs on. I'm going to do single leg because I can feel it more there and I can control my movements more. So you can do single leg or double. What you want to do is get the origin and insertion point of the muscle. So right here, I'm really getting right my ankles, so I'm kind of focusing on my calf insertion point, and then I'll roll all the way up to just behind the knees, which is where they originate. So I want to get kind of both the origin and the insertion point. Maybe I mixed them up, vice versa, wherever. So behind the knees and behind at the ankles. And you can turn your feet. You might have seen me doing that just to get different angles. You do have, a medial and a lateral head, and all that fancy stuff, of course. So make sure you're just finding all those sore spots. It should hurt, just slightly, kind of a hurt so good type of thing. There I was doing the hamstrings, both hamstrings at once, and now I'm just switching to my other side, doing the calves. So I can turn my foot in and out right there at the ankle, right there at the origin or insertion point, whichever, and then I'm getting underneath the knee, again, origin, insertion point, that entire muscle length. A lot of times people focus on the muscle belly, and that's good too, but you want to be thorough and get the origin insertion points as well. So make sure you're getting kind of and you might feel it's even a little more sore and tender there. So make sure you're really getting it in, digging in. It's kind of uncomfortable now, but it'll feel really good afterwards, okay? You're just pushing with the leg that you're not using and your arms just to find those sore spots. So There was the calf and the hamstring. Now we're gonna get the dreaded hips. These ones are always tight, always sore, always a little painful. Really right where your pocket is, that's where we wanna kind of stretch. So I'm just gonna do this on one side. It's almost impossible, I would think, to do both hips at one time, both hip flexors. So I'm putting my pocket, my hip flexor right there on the edge of the foam roller, and you can see I'm pushing with my toe, my opposite knee, and my hands, going from my hip flexors down to the top, right where my knee is, really just to get my quads too, because that's a great way to get your quad rolled out, because that's the same, your quad muscle originates and inserts right there from the hips down to right around where your knees are. So you want to make sure you're getting not only the muscle belly, but the origin and insertion points as well. General rule, 15 seconds to 60 seconds. Foam rolling shuts everything down. You might have heard the fancy term myofascial release. That's just a fancy way of shutting your muscles down. And that's what we're doing here at the end. And hopefully that allows you to recover more quickly for whatever's in store for you tomorrow. Now, if you've been following along all the time, you're like, I don't have a foam roller. You can use this time to stretch. Maybe you're a foam rolling pro. You're pretty much done for the day. You can foam roll your whole body and get that done, and you don't need me for that, right? Just foam roll what you need to. But if you've never foam rolled before, it's kind of confusing. So here's the IT band. This one's the most complex to get into. So if you're foam rolling here, I'm foam rolling my right leg. So my left leg is crossover on top, and I'm just kind of using that crossover leg, my left leg, to position my body. So I'm just using the foam roller. I'm starting at my hip. I'm trying to roll all the way down to my knee, and I'm getting my glute here now too. So just kind of from my lower back into my, just all of my butt muscles on that side, and then I'll switch IT bands into my glutes. So I like that kind of pattern of calves to hamstrings, hip flexors to quads, IT bands to glutes, and that pretty much covers my legs, and it's really similar positions. So I spend about 15, 30 seconds of both. Boom, 3 minutes of foam rolling and my legs are feeling better. So it might not look this pretty or this smooth if this is your first time foam rolling, but there's really not I hate to say this, there's not a ton of ways to mess it up. It's just finding those sore spots, those knots and muscles, and kind of going after them, which isn't always fun. This is painful to do. So it's again, a hurt so good type of feeling. So thank you for getting through that with me. Thanks for tagging along. I hope your body feels rejuvenated. I'm going to take these guys for a hike. Thanks for following along. Be sure to hit subscribe to stay up to date on all my workouts, and I hope to see you again soon.